Ms. Delfora mentioned, I'm Rebecca Wilson, Coordinator for College and Career Readiness. And we are so pleased that you joined us tonight, especially after that big snow that we've had. So we're really happy to have you. And not only are you going to hear from me tonight, but you're also going to hear for some what I consider to be experts, FAFSA experts or financial aid experts, Javier Figueroa, wave Javier for the crowd, and then Genesis McKenna. She's going to be helping us tonight. And we have Miss Deshayla Shelley with us as well tonight. And this information, I feel like I was a school counselor for 10 years, and I find this to be one of the most important topics to talk about with regards to going off to post-secondary education or experience. So whether you're going to college or you're going to a technical school, and maybe you're going to Porter and Chester Institute or Harris School, after all, you need financing and you need to be able to finance your education. And so tonight we're going to hopefully give you some tidbits to walk away with regards to applying for financial aid and answer any of your FAFSA questions. The information is on the left. That's Ms. Deshayla Shelley's information. We have set up some individual appointments for Stanford families, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but there's your opportunity to get some one-on-one help. So please take a screenshot with your phones or with your computers of the information on the right-hand side. That is probably the most information you will need tonight to get some personal help for our seniors. Today, we're hoping to really correct some misperceptions about financial aid and also to answer your burning questions. So please use the chat box to put your questions in. So I'm going to interview Javier and Genesis, and we're going to start by asking the first question, and they're going to give us some feedback, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So Javier, I need to know, why do I need to complete the FAFSA by February 15th? I hear about this FAFSA date of February 15th. I know Stanford, we're running this FAFSA challenge, is 15 days to FAFSA. I haven't even filed my 2020 taxes yet. Should I be worried about that date?
Well, yes, the 15th is an important date for the FAFSA because it's a deadline for the state of Connecticut where students can complete the application of financial aid to be able to get the most out of their award package, whether it be federal, state assistance, it can be scholarship help. You want to get this done as soon as possible. And the one thing that's important is that you don't need your 2020 tax return. The application that's going to be done now is going to be using the 2019 tax return, which you should already have a copy of, or you can always request it from the IRS if you don't have it on hand.
Great, thank you. That's great information, Javier. So I don't think I will even qualify for financial aid because I know my parents make a ton of money and I really don't think we're ever going to qualify. So why should I even apply?
It's still important to do the financial aid application because financial aid isn't only grants, scholarships, and loans also fall under the same umbrella of financial aid. So all students should still do the application because worst case scenarios, if you're not eligible for grants, scholarships, it would be an opportunity. A lot of those colleges do request that a FAFSA application be on file.
Super. We will make sure we get those applications in, no matter how big the salaries are at home.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So as an undocumented student, is it even safe for me to apply? I won't get any money anyway because I'm undocumented. So why should I even take the chance on applying? After all, it is unsafe, isn't it?
Well, the state of Connecticut has actually been one of the states that's approved undocumented students to be able to receive financial assistance. It would be a little bit different. You wouldn't be completing an online application through FAFSA. You would actually be able to speak to one of your financial aid counselors at the college so that they can provide you with a paper application that can be filled out. And only you and that counselor would have access to that document that can be reviewed by us to determine your financial aid eligibility. So no one else would be able to know your circumstance. So it'd be confidential between you and the counselor.
Well, that's really good to know that it's a safe process because I've been very hesitant in even applying. So that is great information. Well, I hear all the time, FAFSA is a waste of time. And it's a waste of time because we cannot afford those really expensive colleges that are like $50,000 and $60,000 and $70,000 a year. So why even bother? I may not even go to school because it's just way too expensive.
Well, like we were saying earlier, with one of the purposes of meeting the deadline is because there also are different options other than financial aid grants. Like we said, there's the loans, there's the scholarships that can be offered to a student. So the earlier you apply, the process you meet with your financial aid department after completing the application, the more access you would have to funds. Even there's a work study program where you can work at the college a couple hours, and that money can help you towards your tuition. So that's less of a burden of what you'd have to pay out of pocket, because there's different things you're taking advantage of because you applied early and you were on top of things to meet with your financial aid department and seeing what other options are available to you as a student.
So does that mean that even if I choose a private college and a private college seemed to have a bigger price tag, does that mean that I could potentially go to a more expensive college, even though, I mean, with my financial aid?
Correct, because every single student, like depending on the college that you choose, you'd be able to meet with those schools, and they can have different options as far as not only just grants. Each school can have private funding, they can have scholarships, things that you can actually take advantage of, so you can know ahead of time how much funding can I actually receive based off of the information that I'm providing. So you want to get this done as soon as possible. Like we said, the 15th, that deadline is actually really important. You want to make sure that that's met on time so that you can get all these resources that are open to all the students that apply.
That's wonderful. I am definitely going to shoot for that February 15th deadline because that's going to ensure that I'm in the running for lots of money for college. So FAFSA is really, really intimidating. I don't know anyone who has done the FAFSA, including myself, and had not felt like it was hard to do or was just intimidating. It seemed like a lot of questions and a lot of information, and I just wasn't quite sure about some of the information. How do I get help?
Well, the financial aid process itself, the website does have a phone number so you can contact one of them for assistance. But even your local community colleges, I myself work at Norwalk Community College, and we have students that find the application process difficult and they do stop by our office. We don't say no to any student, even if you're not coming to us. We can still assist you with the process because our main goal is the student being able to complete their process and get the funding they need so that they can complete their education.
Great, that's great information to know. So I can go to my school counselor at school for help. I can go to NCC for help. I could attend some of the FAFSA workshops that that my counselors and my teachers have been telling me about. But I did hear about this Miss Shelley, and she's a household name in the Stanford Public Schools. And I wanted to hear more about her help. Miss Shelley, can you help us?
Hello, of course I can help. That's what I'm here for. And not only that I can help you go to NCC with your financial aid, but I can help you apply for financial aid at any college that you would like to go to. My office is housed out of NCC, but I can also help you go to any other college. And you would just click on the link that you see on the screen, and you'll go to my schedule link, and you'll see all the availability that I have, and you just pick the time that you would like, and I will send you a Zoom link either the day before or earlier that day, and we'll have you we'll do your FAFSA. Um, I have these days that's on the screen available as well as other days. So if any of these days that are on the screen you can't do, you can look at any other times and schedule an appointment with me, and I'll let you know everything that you need to bring for your appointment so we can have a successful completion of your FAFSA.
Great. I think we feel more equipped to get our FAFSA done by the 15th. And now that we know there's so much help, I think we'll be in a good place. So we're going to switch gears, and we would like to open our forum up for some questions around financial aid or FAFSA or attending college, and whether it's scholarships or institutional aid or grants. Whatever questions that you have, we are taking questions right now. So we're going to go to the chat box. So the first question, and this is a great one, FAFSA is completed in senior year, just to clarify.
Correct. Most students would, during their senior year, the application would come out in the fall, October 1st. The student would be able to complete that application, and then the school would be able to receive it. Normally, depending on the college, a lot of four-year schools bring it in February. Community college might be March or April, and then the student would be notified by email as long as they've completed the admissions application to that institution that they listed on their application.
Great. We have another question. How can 11th graders complete a pro forma FAFSA application?
I'm actually not sure what that is. Is that like I guess like they can test run the application? I'm not sure.
I
I've
would
never
think
heard
so.
of that, to be honest. Sorry about that.
Maybe a sample.
Yeah, it could be possibly like a sample application. I'm not 100% sure. We haven't really done those applications to be able to see how that actually gets completed. Most of the students that we've usually helped with the application are students that are coming in for that semester. So I'm not 100% sure about that.
Just to jump in, hi everyone. So pretty much for those students that are in 11th grade and they're not a senior, you can try to do a test run with the FAFSA application. So you can actually start getting your FSA ID ready, which is something that you will need when you actually want to submit the application. And you can actually go in and get started and look at the questions, whether you want to submit it or not, so you can kind of see what happens. You can do that, but nothing's going to happen to your FAFSA unless you submit an admissions application to the school that you're interested in. And of course, you would not be able to move forward without your high school application. So in turn, you can go right into the FAFSA and just to get a feel of what it is like and what kind of questions you should be expecting. But once you complete it, because you don't have those other requirements, nothing would happen or count against you. I do suggest that you write down your FSA ID because it is something that you would need the following year when you are ready to really complete your FAFSA and submit it.
Great, that's a wonderful question. We have another question. One of the questions that we have is, if I haven't chosen my college as of yet, can I still complete my FAFSA application and send it in for processing?
Well, the issue with that would be that the application itself does require you to add a school code to the application. So you wouldn't be able to submit one without one, but you do have the ability as a student to add up to 10 different schools on your application so that each one of those individual schools can still receive that information, but they wouldn't be able to process it unless you completed an admissions application for them to get back to you a financial aid package. So you can always still complete admissions, complete the FAFSA, compare those awards between the schools, but you're not initially completing the full process if you haven't registered for any classes at that institution.
Is it helpful to put a school in, even if I'm not going to that school, maybe put a backup school in and then have it
Well,
processed?
yeah, it's always a possibility that you could, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but it's a possibility of you being able to do so because like I tell most students, you can always add different schools, you can see different financial aid packages, and sometimes you might be able to even contact the school that you really want to go to and let them know, I do want to go to your institution, but unfortunately this college is actually offering me a better financial aid package, and financially is my most important decision factor at this moment, to see if maybe by speaking to a financial aid counselor at that school that you want to go to, is there any way that they might be able to find any sort of other funding that can assist you.
Great. Next question. As a student, hold on, let me grab it. As a student, I feel overwhelmed with completing so many applications. Should I complete the FAFSA first before I submit applications to college, or vice versa?
Well, like we were saying with the previous question, like the application, the FAFSA could be completed. You can add the schools that you are considering on the application and submit that off, so get that financial aid portion of it completed. But for you to actually hear back from those institutions to see what financial aid package they can offer you, that application for admissions would have to be completed because they would not be able to download the application into their system without that admissions application process. But I would say how instead of doing both of them at the same time, if you do find it difficult, you can always complete the FAFSA first, have an idea of what schools you do want to list. And then once you have that completed, little by little, you can complete the applications for the schools but also be aware that they do have deadlines as well. So you do want to make sure that you're able to meet the deadlines for certain schools, because you don't want to find out that, yes, they had your FAFSA in their system, but that your admissions came in too late for them to be able to offer you the best package available.
Great. Okay. Next question. Hi, I wasn't born in the US. And so when I started applying for the FAFSA, it asked me for my alien card number. My father has it and I can't get in contact with him. What should I do?
Well, the issue for that is for him to apply or her to apply for financial aid, that number is going to be required because they would not be able to complete the application, because once you put in that you're an eligible non-citizen, the first thing that it's going to ask for is for that number. If he's not able to get a hold of father, mother is nowhere to get in contact with, they might have to check with the U.S. Department of Immigration to be able to see, is there any way that they can provide that information to them to confirm identity, to get that number for them to be able to complete the application, because it would be an important factor for them to be able to complete it.
Okay, thank you. This question is from Ms. Shelley. Ms. Shelley, how long does it take to complete a FAFSA application from the beginning to end?
Well, if you are prepared and if you create an FSA ID for you and your parent before our appointment, it can take up to 20 minutes. However, if you didn't do your FSA ID, that can be additional, it can be up to 45 minutes. So the best thing to do is create your FSA ID for you and your parent, and then also make sure you write it down, and then have all the required documents, especially the 2019 tax returns, so we can complete your FAFSA, because without that, we won't be able to submit it. So if you're prepared, and when you make an appointment with me, there is a checklist of everything that you need. So if you're prepared, it can take up to 30 minutes, or it just depends how prepared you are.
Great, Ms. Shelley. A question is about Pell grants versus institutional funds versus scholarships. Can you tell us a little bit more about those three areas?
Well, to be able to find out what you would be eligible for, it would be based off of what's called an EFC number. When you complete your FAFSA and you enter in your tax information, your parents' tax information, if both of you filed for that year, the FAFSA is going to generate an EFC number, which is what your family could pay for your education without financial assistance. Each school is then going to receive that application, and then compared to the budget that the school has set for students for the year, would determine if you're going to be receiving a Pell grant, if you're only going to be eligible for institutional funding, which would be on a first come, first served basis. So that's why it's important to meet that February 15th deadline in case you fall into that situation. Scholarships normally get determined. Each individual's school might have a separate section, like Norwalk Community College, where I work. We have a foundation department where once the students has completed their financial aid application, they would have like a separate application where they can apply for the scholarship to be able to see if they can receive that award amount that they applied for based off of the scholarship requirements. But it all would depend on your results from your FAFSA. That's why we want to make sure that you complete it as early as possible to be able to get advantage of being able to get all these awards that are possibly available for you depending on your results.
And I also just want to mention my organization, which is Contact. We also offer a scholarship every year. It comes out in about 2 weeks. And the difference between our scholarship is if you win, the money comes directly to you. So if you needed a laptop, or you just needed groceries or something like that, the money will come directly to you, opposed to other scholarships where it has to go directly to the school. So you guys can also schedule an appointment with me to learn more about that as well. I just wanted to throw that in.
Great. Do I need to submit the FAFSA every year?
Correct. Every single tax year of FAFSA is completed. Like we were going forward, like with the first question where I said you needed to use 2019 tax return, the FAFSA is 1 year behind in taxes, but every October 1st, a new application is going to come out for that school year. So when you complete the application that's out now for the 21-22 school year, that's going to cover your fall, winter, spring, and summer of 2022. But you would also have to then reapply for the 2022-23 school year because they see that income changes. So they want to make sure that they have the most accurate information to be able to determine what your eligibility is on a year-to-year basis. So yes, the application would be done every single school year.
And a follow-up to that question, which makes a lot of sense, what happens if, what do I do if my parents' income changes?
If based off of the FAFSA being done every single year, that's why they take that into consideration. But if it's something where, say you provided the 2019 tax return, which is what the actual FAFSA is requiring now, but say parents' 2020 income is different, you can actually speak with your financial aid department and let them know the income that's reported on my FAFSA no longer applies to my household. And each individual institution does have a special circumstance process you can go through to be able to determine what your eligibility would be if you were to use your 2020 income instead of 2019.
Okay. And if a student does not have enough aid, say they get their award and the aid, it isn't enough to cover their college expenses, what are their options?
Well, the options that we would have, like I said, would be the scholarships that students can apply for. If they do get granted those scholarships, those would be applied to their account and available at the bursars department where they're registering for classes. Or worst case scenarios, if the student didn't receive any scholarships, the financial aid department at the college would offer them their student loan option where they'd be able to apply for loans that can assist to cover the difference or at least be able to reduce it depending on what that balance might be. And then business office does, they usually have payment plans as well, depending on what the leftover amount might be if a student would want to go that route as well.
So it sounds like there's options, financial aid, different aid options, but it also sounds like if a student is having trouble covering their expenses, that they can talk to their financial aid office and counselor to talk about what other options are available or aid.
Correct.
That's what it sounds like. Great. If I don't apply for financial aid this year, will that affect my eligibility for financial aid in subsequent years?
Well, no, the only way your financial aid can be damaged in any way is if when you do receive your financial aid, if you don't do well academically, that because there's an academic side to be able to maintain financial aid. But if it's something where the student decides to take the fall semester off, and you decide to come in for the spring, that doesn't change what your eligibility is because you didn't do anything to damage your financial aid. So you would still be eligible for financial assistance based off of the income information that was reported on your application.
Great. Ms. Shelley, this question is for you. Are the scholarships you offer, are they merit-based or need-based? And maybe you can just tell us what the difference of a merit-based and a need-based scholarship is. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Javier or DeShayla.
Yes, so with merit-based, it'll be based on, your academic, how well you do, your grades and things like that, whereas need-based will be how your income level. Are you low enough income for the requirement? For my scholarship for contact, you have to be a first generation low income student. So you have to be both of them. And it's not necessarily merit-based. What you would do is write an essay and you'll need a letter of recommendation. And we have a scholarship committee and they read your story, things like that. So if you don't have the best grades, that is fine. You maybe want to write that in your essay. You maybe had a bad semester. That's not going to deter you from getting a scholarship, but you have to be first generation low income student for our scholarship. However, if you do book an appointment with me, I can help you find other scholarships that are not low income first generation. We can look at some other websites that offer scholarships.
And I have one final question. If you can just explain what the FAFSA is again, just so everyone has a great understanding of what it means.
Well, FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid. So that's what the letters mean for FAFSA, which is initially just an application that you would be able to complete using the income information for the year that they're requesting to show the college that you're going to be attending if you do have need to be able to receive assistance to pay for your college. So this isn't something that you don't have to pay this money back. This isn't an actual loan. The loan process would be after if you feel like you need a loan, but this is a completely free application that Best case scenario is they can tell you, yes, you are eligible for an award. It can help you pay for college. Worst case scenario is you can not be eligible for any grants, but you have other options that might be available to you. So it doesn't hurt to complete an application.
Great. Well, I think this was a wonderful session and we learned a lot. And I'm hoping that if you haven't gotten all of your questions answered, that you continue to submit questions. You can also reach out to Ms. Shelley and here's her information again. She can answer questions, not only meet with you, but she can also answer your financial aid questions. Javier is available at Norwalk Community College Financial Aid Office, and so is Genesis McKenna. They're available. If you can't reach out to these folks, please see your school counselor at school and or a teacher or an administrator, because most of us have been through college and could help you at least find the resource that you need. We are going to stop the English session and we are going to do the same session in Spanish. We thank